We're live.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining us. And please pop in the chat with your name, your location, your pronouns, how you're doing this morning. We'd love to hear from you.
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Hopefully, everyone is centering your wellness. What are you doing to pour into you? I think is a question that we don't often ask because we are traveling as the speed of light. And I don't know why we do that. So, what are you doing to pour into you this Friday? And if you're not pouring into yourself this Friday, what are you doing or what do you have planned to pour into yourself this upcoming weekend? Because I know a lot of people are like, I'm not doing anything right now. I'm doing it on the weekend, which is fine. So, what's your name? Where are you coming in from? And we have Barbados in the house. Hey, y'all. Happy Friday. And what are you specifically going to do to pour into yourself this Friday, this weekend?
Yes, and for those of us who are in the United States, this is Veterans Day. So hopefully you have the opportunity to take a breath, to honor our veterans, and to also take care of your own wellness today.
Mm-hmm. Any connections to veterans, Karen?
Well, my father was a veteran before he passed away and received excellent care at the Veterans Administration Hospital here in San Francisco, and actually died in the VA hospice here. And I have a very dear friend, Skylar Cooper, who is also a veteran, and is someone who I strongly support. And I have many other members of my family who served in the military.
Okay. Me, I am similar to you. My dad, my grandfather, and my uncle all served in different branches. So connections run deep and many generations in the military. And obviously, I think people will be on different sides of look at what's happened with the military right now, or look at what we're supporting. And I hear you. I also hear we have had many beautiful people choose to be part of the military to uphold the freedoms and the safety of our nation. So we just want to pause and do a shout out to everybody who has either served in the military, is currently serving to the military, or has a connection to the military, maybe a spouse, a daughter, a son, a child. There could be many different lines, but thank you. We see you and we know the impact that you have made on our nation over centuries. Okay, Karen.
Yes, we have folks joining us from Wisconsin, from Chicago, from Florida. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy
And
anniversary. We have somebody celebrating their anniversary this weekend, Corey.
excellent. We want to talk with you today about why. Why is now the time for interracial sisterhood? But before we dive into that, we'd love to know, how are you? You know, this, I don't know, speaking for myself, 2023 has been a really difficult year. And I keep thinking, oh, things are going to get better now. And instead of getting better, it just feels more and more and more intense. So please don't gloss over the question. Let us know how you are. We would love to hear from you. How are you, future?
You know, a lot's going on in our life over here. And you know some of it. Even yesterday I was at a community talk and there has been a lot of death that has surrounded. So I am trying to process. I'm trying to process all that is going on in the private life while trying to pour in so much positivity on the virtual world and out to others anytime I'm in, shared space in person. And at the same time, life is lifing. So if I'm on a scale of 1 to 10, where my bucket is, because I think that's important for people to say, where are you on a 1 to 10? Of 1 is I don't even know where a gas station is to fill my wellness up. I can't, they don't have enough gallons to fill me up. And 10 would be, I am overflowing. How can I help you? I would probably say I am at a 7.
Mm.
So a 7 on a scale of 10 for my wellness. What about how are you? What number would you give yourself?
Wow. On a scale of 1 to 10 for my wellness,
Mhm.
well, my main wellness outlet, Zumba, has been disrupted this week. So I'm feeling out of kilter because I'm not taking
Mm.
my classes. On the other hand, I have my dearest childhood friend, best friend from the time we were in 5th grade, is visiting us this weekend. And so it's a real pleasure to reconnect with her and to see her. She's my kid's godmother. To see her interact with them and all of that is, as you would say, filling my bucket with joy.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So just drop in. Thank you so much. We have people coming in from Chicago. Midwest is showing up in the building over here, Karen. So we have Texas, we have Florida coming in, we have Barbados, we have a bunch of people, and we actually have a Air Force vet that has shared space with us. So thank you for your service. It's not something, it's kind of like when we were talking about Jane Elliott earlier this morning, and she asked the question, hey, would you want to be Black and trade spaces? Okay, in the room of all white people. And I don't know if no hands went up. Surprise. What? No hands went up. And I think about if you're in a space just asking that question, hey, how many want to sign up for military? A lot of hands would not choose to go up. So thank you seriously for all that you're doing and have
Yeah.
for us. We have New York and then we have Texas coming in. Hi, everyone. Dr. Joe.
Clarissa is such a dear friend. I'm so happy to see you in this. And Dr. Joe, thank you so much for joining us from London.
Okay, so everybody who came in late, we asked everybody on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you in regards to your wellness? So just drop that in the chat. And we're being serious. We skate through life, whether you have roller skates or not, of, oh, I don't have to sit with myself on how well I am or how well I'm not. And your wellness actually has an impact on other people. So please check in with yourselves. We would love for you to put 1 through 10. 10 being I'm overflowing and 1 being there is no gas station that has enough gas gallons to fill me up in my own wellness right now. I don't know where you are. Karen and I said that we are not 10s. We're over here. But I think it's important for you all, even if you don't want to put it in the chat, for you to do a check with yourself of, okay, really, where am I? And if I'm not at the 10, how do I plan to actually get there? How do I plan to get there? And are you checking in with other people? Okay. All those people that maybe you call on the phone of venting or needing to brainstorm with you, they might be on a 3 on that day that you're calling and reaching out. So I always try to ask people, okay, where are you? Where's your mental bandwidth right now? Where are you? Do you even have room for me to say whatever I need to say to you? Okay. I'm going to be quiet.
So I'm going to roll to our next slide, which is around community agreements for this conversation. This is very important part of Future of my co-facilitation practice, is to always make sure that there's consent in the space, that people know what the expectations are, so that we can have a container that is as safe as possible for people. So we invite you this morning to come as you are, feelings and all, to be present, to be mindful that others' story is their story. It's their truth. So let's listen to it and not question it or deny aspects of it, and be proactive and preventative with your wellness.
Mhm. Okay. We have a lot of 6s and 7s is what I'm seeing. Welcome, California just popped into here. A bit empty, right? Social and spiritual cups. I hear you, and that's why we said number 4 of our agreements. You are agreeing. Thank you for coming to our live. You are automatically agreeing that you're seriously gonna pour into your wellness. And we laugh, right? I need to start coming on and doing videos that are more spoofs of how silly and, like, comical I try to be in my life in private where people don't see. But we seriously need to say, "Okay, what am I doing to pour into myself to be well?" Your wellness is your wealth. Your wellness very much matters, and, we can't afford to lose anybody else. So I am trying to be very intentional and proactive and preventative to remind people you need to be proactive and preventative with your own wellness because some of these spaces could not really care so much.
Yes. And I would like to share with everyone this statistic that comes from research about friendships. And this is an analysis conducted of people of different racial identities, racial, ethnic, and cultural identities in the United States. 75 to 80% of white people in the United States don't have any friends of color. And we introduce this topic as we think about wellness, because how do you think that the lack of interracial friendships is affecting wellness in the United States? And you can speak from your own experience. Um, how is the kind of social isolation, the friend deficit? I've heard people call it a friend recession,
Mhm,
and the epidemic of isolation impacting on people's well-being.
mhm, mhm. And I think it's important we pause. So people will be like, "Why aren't they talking?" We're not talking because some of this stuff is, whoo, like my wellness was at a 7. It drops anytime I'm talking about this stuff because I have so many curiosities in my mind of 75 to 80%. We know this, and I'll speak from being a mom. We also know the world that our kids are going to grow up in, depending on their ages. But I don't care. You take a baby all the way up to a kid who's 30 years old. They are going to be working in a workforce that is global majority. However, if 75 to 80% of the people have no friends that are other than white, that aren't different ethnicities, that aren't different cultures, the lack of exposure to the reality of a whole new world. Where's that song? We need that song coming in, A Whole
A
New World,
whole new
right?
world.
That they're gonna be like, "What the heck?" Because you're living in the sphere of the 75 to 80, there's so many beautiful things that you're missing, and then essentially, it is going to be hard and difficult, not impossible, but very difficult to then model and embody certain things for your children, your grandchildren, because guess what? They don't see you doing it. If you never had a black person in your house and just having a drink, whether that's a club soda or actual glass of wine or sharing some food or going to their event or going over their house, then why would we think our kids are just going to magically fall into the habits of doing it?
100%. 100%.
So that's what I think. That's my 2 cents. So what's our why? Why?
Yes.
Why do we keep bringing this up? Okay. Why other than Karen and I are not the same, if you have not noticed, okay? I do not see her any day as a white woman. So why? Because we're in community with each other. We literally are interracial sisterhood. This is it. This is one example. It is discouraging to hear. And Melissa, guess what? If I sit in my, it's discouraging to hear. Some people then will choose, because it's easier, complacency, silence, and not doing anything because it seems impossible to change. So I'm just going to sit here and remain the same. Quote me on that one. Okay. And we're saying we can, and we have to do something much more. So we're choosing to do something much more. And we know that something much more doesn't happen without you all.
Yes. So I'll talk a little bit about my why, and I'd love to hear you share your why to Future. And folks, you can also put in the your why in the comments. But I am so grateful to be part of women's spaces. So I went to an all women's college. I've been a feminist since I was in elementary school. I really strongly cultivate my friendships with women. And, I have my friend here who I've been best friends with since 5th grade. Like, to me, having really strong relationships with other women has always been one of the most important aspects of my life. And what I've noticed is that there are many spaces that are created by white women that are supposed to be women's spaces, but they become de facto cis white women's spaces because global majority women, um, uh, self-identified women, aren't safe in those spaces. And at the same time, I'm so fortunate to be invited into spaces held by global majority women. And often I am the only white woman who's there, or maybe one of two. And these spaces are very healing and transformative. But also people are sharing a lot of trauma that they've experienced at the hands of white women. And I'm like, why? We need to be able to create a space where we can actually exchange these stories, where we can build connection, where white women can take accountability for the harm that we've caused and learn new patterns of behavior, where all women can learn new patterns of relating across difference as equals, as Audre Lorde told us that we must do. And so that is why, since 2017, I've been trying to bring people together. And it's been a really, really transformative experience. And I feel like, especially at this time of super heightened division, we need these spaces more than ever. And I'm grateful to have met Future and to have been able to hold these spaces online for multiple people. And it's been like beautiful to see this community flourish. And there's a sense that we need to be physically together in person. We need to really exhale from all the stress that we're under and have a restorative space. I don't know about you, but it's very disjointing. Like, Future and I were just on a Zoom and now we're here. And then at the same time, people are walking around my apartment. There's noise outside. It's like, I, I want to have a space where I can just be in community, like real community, not virtual community, in-person community, feel each other's energy, and really disconnect from everything else and be wholly present in that space with others. That is something that I can feel in my body needs. My son recently said to me, "Mom, I think you need to go on another retreat." I'm like, "You're very perceptive. I do need to go on another retreat." So that is my why. And I'm sorry to take up so much space.
No, you don't have to apologize. Okay, so I need to raise a couple things from what you said. Okay. And here people is gonna get a front row seat to the conversations that Karen and I have offline because I think it's important. I think it's important to show this. Now, you said two things that I want to touch upon, and
Mhm,
I'm getting into my why, and my why goes with this.
mhm,
You brought up feminism. Now here's my thing. People could come in, and you know this too, Karen, because we've had this. How do we define feminism? Because the reality is oftentimes feminism has often met to that feminism isn't me or
right.
never include me or
Mhm,
people who look like me. So I want to raise that up because I don't want people coming into the space thinking their ears perked up when you said feminism
mhm,
and then they automatically went to that's not the space for me.
mhm,
Because how does then Karen view feminism? Because their definition of feminism and what many of us, and I'm going to say us by global majority people know, that some of the feminism is actually really harmful and not
mhm,
inclusive to all women. So that's one, because then I want you to respond to, right? I need you to respond to this to clear up I
mhm,
don't need this floating around on virtual world of Karen just said she's a feminism and then all of these stories that are conjugated in people's minds.
mhm,
Um, the other thing that I want to raise before I go into my why too is, and you could say this, right? Of, hey, white women, we can do so much better and we need to be held accountable and all these other things that you said. Okay. And here's what I'm not going to do. I need everybody to know from my personal stance, I don't think it's just white women.
mhm.
I am not sitting here putting the onus only on white women. I'm going to tell you why. I can tell you stories that would make people cry about how I've actually been treated by global majority women.
Mm,
So to sit here and just pass this, whatever we feel like we're passing, pass the can, pass any of the stuff, it for me is not 100% to be owned by white women because
mhm,
I feel like women or self-identified women and just people in general, there's different capacities all around this globe that have been and continue to show up harmful and problematic and not centering a love for humanity. So those
mhm,
are the two things that I need to say before I
mhm,
say my why, and I want to pitch it back to you to
mhm,
talk about and expand on what do you actually mean when you're talking about feminism, Karen?
mhm,
And
mhm.
then I don't know if you have an additional of white woman because I think that's important for people to hear, especially in the space that we're creating.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Future. And yes, certainly, I do not mean a white feminism that centers the well being of professional white women only and their our individual career aspirations. I have always sought to be in interracial, international sisterhood and solidarity with women of all different backgrounds. I attended Mount Holyoke College, where I got to actually experience that for the first time at a very young age. And we were reading all the, reading Audre Lorde and reading bell hooks and reading all these wonderful writers. And they were actually coming to campus and speaking as well. And I remember reading these things and I couldn't fully understand what they were talking about because I did not have enough lived experience to really get it. But I've been super fortunate throughout my career to work for organizations that were global majority organizations. And almost all of my supervisors, the leaders I've reported to, have been and are global majority women. So I learned from them. They gave me feedback, what you're doing well, what you're not doing well, and they role modeled for me how to show up as a white woman in these spaces. And I continue to learn tremendously. Thank you, Future, for your patience and your feedback and your directness in sharing with me ways that I need to change. This isn't like you hit anti-racism zen and then you never need to evolve. But yes, I want to create intersectional, intergenerational, supportive, nutritive, unconditional relationships based in trust that is earned among women.
Okay. Do you want to say anything about the white women? Right?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes.
I don't know.
To your point about my naming white women, I feel that as a white woman, it is my lane to point out the harmful behaviors of white women. That doesn't mean that I don't acknowledge that that global majority women sometimes engage in harmful behaviors with each other. And I feel like my main responsibility is to holding white women to account for the ways that we need to change and grow, and supporting global majority women who are holding global majority women in the ways that they need to change and grow, but not directly um, calling out global majority women in these ways, because I I think I have enough in my lane with my white women. Does that make sense?
Mhm, mhm, mhm. But I just wanted to know, right? I needed to name that because
Yes.
I don't need anybody coming in, looking at that, like, one clip and be like, "What?" And then formulating all these things in their minds of who we are and who we're not, or what this will be and what this will not be.
Mhm.
Okay, so, my why. I have so many, so I'm not gonna get into my first reaction to the why would be, "Why not?" Give me a reason of why not. Like,
Mhm.
I would like people to answer that because
Mhm.
we collectively, I think, as humanity, see it's not like we're all living in harmony with each other.
Mhm.
So, why not? My second why would be I wouldn't even be on this earth. I wouldn't be speaking. I wouldn't be advocating. I wouldn't be holding space. I wouldn't have interracial children if it weren't for my mom and dad who began in an interracial relationship.
Mhm.
For my mom who was white who birthed me. I wouldn't even be here. So my why is the why I was birthed. And I think that runs very deep. I think I want to continue the beauty and love that I was birthed because of and just see more of it in the world. I don't want people to think, "Oh, she is coming up on here advocating for only interracial marriages and relationships." That's not what I'm saying. I am sitting here saying, if that's not your thing, I'm not mad at you and I still love you. I am saying, as humanity, it is imperative that we come together across racial, ethnic, cultural, intersectionality, if that's socioeconomic status, mental health and well-being, whatever label you want to box you want to put it in, we have so much more room to grow and expansion of across our divides and differences to see how similar we are in our purposes, in our life goals. And we can't do that unless we cross those racial, those ethnic, those cultural divides by beginning to come share space. Virtual is awesome. I'm not saying anything about virtual. We've done a lot of virtual, and nobody is making me personally believe that in person isn't the best way to go to truly build a relationship and get to know people in a space where you could feel that energy at a very different level than
Mhm.
virtually through the computer or on
Mhm.
the phone. Okay.
Yes, some beautiful comments here. Clarissa, there's more that connects us than divides us. Yes. And we have been very intentionally divided. The people who divided us knew what they were doing, like, knew exactly what to do to maintain wealth and power intergenerationally, to brainwash and to reward and to enforce and to punish uh, white women who participated in the division too. And we have to start to understand the patterns of our behavior, as Resma Menachem teaches us. It's not that we're defective, it's that we're protective, and we're carrying around so much trauma intergenerationally. And like, if we don't take that time and space to really work on our healing, we're going to be passing that trauma intergenerationally to the next generation. And the calls for women to unite across difference has been sounded in every generation of this country. There's been a handful of women who really saw the need for this, and then silence. Like, they call out into the abyss. They forge some meaningful relationships, they get some changes made, but it never becomes like a widespread culture of interracial sisterhood and solidarity. And I feel like it is our responsibility to do what we can and not pass this to the next generation.
Yeah. Welcome from the United States to Uganda. Patient Black women who are willing to wage the gap of discomfort for the sake of our mental growth, to tell us uncomfortable truths. Okay. One can't occur with the other. Right. And I don't know how people feel fulfilled when groups of people or some people are saying, here, you do all the emotional labor while I sit here in my bucket of comfort and could tap out anytime I want.
And
Yeah.
And that's the other reason why we want to come together in person, so that we can create a plan of what we're going to do to not tap out, of the tangible actions that we're going to take outside of the retreat to sustain and grow this into every workplace and community in America. And to be from this nourished place where we have a supportive network of other women who are trying to do the same thing in their workplaces and their communities, and we can sustain it over time.
Okay, so here's the thing. We can do it together. And it is an unlearning. It is an unprogramming. It is neuroplasticity at its finest. And oftentimes neuroplasticity happens when you have continuous cycles of habits. And when you're fostered and nourished by other people around you that are doing the same thing, which is why we're coming in person. And the unlearning that we have to do is, people at a very young age have been programmed and bought into this individualism, which was raised in the chats. And a lot of cultures, ethnicities, and certain races are very collective and community. That the individualistic way of being is not upheld by everybody. Now, we each can teach each other stuff, and doing things in community is helpful. So when we say a relational field in person, for us to tap into the shared feelings and be grounded while also doing it together, is exactly that. We all have shared stake in it. We all feel it. We all can support each other. We can support each other. It's who's going to make the conscious choice to say, Ubuntu, I am because we are. And I see myself in every other human being. And if I don't, I am not only hurting myself, I'm hurting all of humanity by just sitting here choosing to take what might seem the easier route. And
Mm,
I'm going to say to people that really need to tap into their own consciousness, at what cost? There's
mm.
a cost, there is a grave cost to all of this. Now, y'all might not be thinking that far ahead and seeing it, but there's a cost to your soul. There's a cost to your spirit. There's a cost to your wellness. There's a cost to your mind, your consciousness. These are all costs. What are you willing to gamble? I don't know. What we're saying is we have our why. We're hoping if you too care about humanity and equity for all, that we have beautiful minds that have come together collectively over our time of doing this that have said, yep, I'm going to come share space because I know there's so much more. What is the next thing that we wanted to talk about, Karen?
White supremacy culture and the toxins thereof that are really pervasive, and especially, I will say, for me, in times of stress, become like my default. Oh, I have to be perfect. Oh, I have to have the language written just the right way. Oh, I don't know how so and so will feel about XYZ. I better, A, B, C, oh, this, oh, that, oh, this, oh, that. And how it is so easy to fall back into the poisons of white supremacy culture, and a lifetime of work to uproot and stop practicing these behaviors.
So here's the one, there's many different characteristics of this white supremacy culture. One piece of the white supremacy culture that I hope the people would pick up right now is a sense of urgency.
Mhm.
There is a major sense of urgency that many of us have in regards to creating systems of equity for all. So when can we say this is of urgency? We saw the urgency in 2020 and the performances that were applause, and you win lots of awards for it. And at the same time, then that urgency got placed down and defensiveness seeped in and fear of conflict seeped in and power hoarding seeped in and individualism and this either or seeped in. And what has seeped out is that sense of urgency. Where is the sense of urgency for I need to not only do work on myself
Mhm.
so that I am causing a little less pain and suffering to others that I am sharing space in different places with, and also where is the worshiping of humanity's good character and wellness? That's
Yes.
my question.
Yeah. I think it has to be a continuous cycle, right? It has to be a continuous cycle of filling our cup and feeling abundant and taking care of ourselves
Yep.
so that we can be engaged in struggle. And then the next part is relationship, right? We can't do this on our own. We have to be in relationship. We have to be in community. And those relationships don't form overnight. That
No.
takes time to do that relationship. And then as we are feeling whole and full and we're in right relationship with other people, then we can start to make those societal changes. Then we can start to make those systemic changes, because it's not being driven from fear or anger or reactive. It's being driven from whole people in right relationship with each other, united to say, this is what needs to change.
Yeah.
And doing that work is very, very, very exhausting. So then it moves back into the cycle of taking care of ourselves, taking care of our relationships, and continuously going around in this cycle, and also continuously growing and learning and transforming, right? Because as I said earlier, it's not like this linear progression of anti-racism, but anti-racism itself is a cycle, but it should be a cycle of action, not a cycle of inaction.
Well, I'll add, Karen, this is where the individualism will get you.
Yes.
Because when you feel like I have to do this on my own, that is you just automatically induce anxiety, right? Like you're not even going to be able to get a lot of times yourself out of your own way because you're sitting there looking at the mountain that is before you of how the heck am I supposed to do this? And we've been programmed to believe, well, I have to just do it. And at the same time, forgetting, no, there's a community. There is a community out there that doesn't function in this culture of individualism. And I can't ask another person to help me, to support me, to guide me, or to walk with me in changing what the trajectory of humanity is. You can. You have other people who are doing this. It's, did you find your people? The people, we're here, and are you willing to step in and on to this path?
Yes. And that's really been, I mean, there's a lot of negative things that you can say about social media, but I will say one of the positive things is making connection. Like you and I met each other from LinkedIn. That's how we met Sharon and Joe and Clarissa and so many people. Like all the people are on here are because they found out about this on LinkedIn. But then how do we take that online relationship, that online network, and build it into an actual connective tissue network community offline?
Correct. So what we want people to take a moment to consider is we were all changed. Nobody is going to make me believe, even if you said it out loud to me, that you weren't changed in some form or fashion in 2020. We all changed. A piece of us changed in 2020. So what we're asking people to do is just think back to 2020 and what changed. What changed around you? What changed in you? What changed about your community, the circles that you keep? There's so many different ways and paths that I could go in this myself, but we're saying for you, what changed within you? And then are you clinging to a desperation for approval and sacrificing aspects of yourself to receive it? Let me repeat this again. I have seen, unfortunately, one too many people that are out here trying every day to hold up this perfectionism, trying every day to people please, trying every day to seek the approval of all these people online, out here, out there, and aren't happy with self. And are literally losing, shedding pieces of self that is torturous and tormenting to your own being for other people. Now, here's what I will tell you. We're going to sit around this area called Earth and say, hurt people, okay? And I'm going to say, at what point do you wake up to say, I'm hurting myself by doing this? And if I continue to double down on my desperation for approval and people pleasing, I can't fully heal myself
Mm.
because I am not giving my space to myself and the time and the tenderness that I need to heal myself so that I too can heal others. You
Mm.
all know when you meet a healed person of like
Mhm.
that person has done some work. They don't
Mhm.
even have to say it. I know that person. Like, look at how that person just radiates. Peace is light bulbs out of there all over the place. And you also at the same time know when you meet a hurt person, you
Mm.
could see it, you could feel it. I'm asking all of you from the questions Karen and I had, where are you sitting? Today's wake up call, bell just rang. Hello. Yes, we are. We're going there because people don't want to wake up. Like the alarms are ringing and you're like, I'm just going to snooze it. Snooze for 5 more minutes. And 5 minutes has turned into 5 years. And 5 years has turned into 15 now. So at what point do we sit in okay, I'm going to acknowledge, even though it's painful, I am sitting in the approval of all these other people and people pleasing to the disapproval of myself.
Mm. To the exhaustion of myself.
Right. To the impact on my wellness and well-being. At some
Mhm.
point, y'all need to sit with some of these truths.
Mhm.
And then I'll go to people are petrified. We are in an epidemic of loneliness. Let me say this again. I'm getting real close. An
Mhm.
epidemic of loneliness. This data just didn't come out like, woo, we magically appeared. No, people are in a friend recession. People are in a I feel empty. And then because you feel empty, then you're fearing because you're clinging to these people, these spaces that you don't even like
Mhm.
feel or feel awesome in, but because you don't want to feel completely empty,
Mhm.
then you fear saying something wrong. Or
Mhm.
I can't sit with that uncomfortable choice or truth. Or I'm going to distraction and numb myself to avoid and escape all the crap that is actually really going on.
Mm.
That's it. I just need people to take a moment to consider this. I really do.
Mm.
What are you thinking, Karen?
I'm thinking you should get a second line of business as a minister because you just gave us a sermon, future.
I don't need
And
to open up a church. I don't need that. Okay. What I need people to do is come healed. Okay. Y'all
yes,
need to
yes,
get some healing. That's what I need people to
yes.
do.
Including me. You know, I struggle with the people pleasing my whole life. The oh, what is so and so going to think? Oh, what is so and so going to think? Instead of just walking resolutely in my truth. And if I screw things up, I screw things up. I take accountability, I learn, and I grow. But not second guessing every single thing I do because
Right.
of how is someone else going to take this. And we had a thank you so much, um, An- Anima. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, and thank you for joining us. Ray, Interracial Sisterhood. I'm disappointed that women who say they stand for sisterhood, etc., are remarkably silent when it comes to their Palestinian and Muslim sisters. To me, that's the alarm bells ringing right now. Yes.
Mhm.
When we know that the majority of the 10,000 civilians who have the IDF has killed in Gaza are women and children. And how are we using our voices to stand alongside Rashida Tlaib as she is censured and is censured driven by a white woman, Marjorie Taylor Greene? Where are we?
It's disappointing, right? And we could sit in our disappointment, or we could say, no longer,
Mhm.
right? I
That's right.
see something, I'm saying something.
Exactly. Because I think we've done a great job of describing the problem,
Right.
right? We have amazing books. we have movies, we have, you know, umpteen number of social media posts. There are so many things describing the problem, but who is stepping forward and saying it's time to be part of the solution?
Yeah.
Healing does hurt first.
It's so
Yeah.
painful. It's
Yeah.
so painful. It's so painful. And it's like childbirth in a way, okay? For those of you who have had, what I would say the pleasure and pain of having a kid going through childbirth, I think of it like that because it's hard to imagine the beauty that is gonna come out on the other side once you push yourself through that pain. So then there's so many people that, get like a tinge or a zap of a unease, discomfort, or a little pain, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go back over," right? It's like the dog who goes up to the fence. That fence just shocked me. I'm just gonna go right back over here. And then not seeing enough foresight to see if you just step through the pain, right? It's not even gonna be that long. And what you can see on that other side, even if I described it for you, created a beautiful picture, you will never be able to imagine in your mind how awesome and amazing it actually is. But some people don't want to put their foot on the path in front of each other to say, okay, I'm going to step through. This is going to be a little painful. This is going to be a little unfamiliar. This too is going to teach me so many beautiful lessons. That's going to have a generational impact that I can't even imagine. That's all we want. We want you to imagine in that beautiful mind that you've been given the what if I did this? What if?
We want to expand your imagination of what is actually possible.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part. You know, Audre Lorde wrote about how we don't have any patterns of relating across difference as equals. We don't see them. We don't see women relating across difference in movies, in TV shows. We just shared some you know, images from the show Friends, from Sex and the City, from Girls. Um, um, what do we see? We see no patterns of interracial sisterhood and solidarity on TV or movies, and we don't see them in real life. So she said, we are going to have to create those patterns ourselves.
Yeah.
No one's going to create them for us.
No. Nobody's coming. Nobody's coming, but we're here. So this is the question we're asking you. What would it look like? Like, to me, these pictures are beautiful. What would it look like if you are truly going to a space, not a moment, not at the conference, geez, everybody take a quick picture, and then you go back to your life, and that doesn't look anything like that. We want people to seriously ask, what would it look, feel like if we could do something different and establish real relationships across race, ethnicity, and culture? What would it feel like? Okay, what's the next question? So we're talking about pain, right? And Kerry Washington said something that we thought was beautiful. We are not alone in our pain, and we are not alone in transforming our pain into power. We're all doing it. We support each other in doing it. We all know a pain. He's going to sit here and say, I can't understand you as another self-identified woman of the pain that we are culturally all living in. What we're saying is we have pain, and how much are we free? If not all of us are free. if we hypothetically are going to sit in our silence and see thousands of people get killed and then not say anything, or not say we have to at any point. It shouldn't even got to the point. It shouldn't even got to this point. We shouldn't have to speak up and say, this is inhumane of ceasefire of what is happening. But some people don't want to speak up because you don't want to lose your social clout, because you don't want people to not feel pleased by you, because you don't want to face the repercussion and consequences, because there's a cost to doing this, of what will happen. And I'm saying, what about the cost of if you do? There's so much greater cost on the other end, passing through what you think is the discomfort, the pain, and the unfamiliar territory. Okay, so what is the...
Anima is making the point that global majority women do see interracial relationships and friendships in real life. It's white women who are not supposed to see this, and they miss out big time, who are not exposed to see this. Yes.
So I would say all white women. People ask me often for the last 3 years, well, what can I do future? Right? I've gotten that question so many times. Here's what you could do. You could choose to come share space with us. That's what I'm putting in as an action. You can choose to apply and sign up. You can choose to invite friends. You can choose to do a post. You can choose to give a donation for a scholarship. But most importantly, we want people there. If you're saying, what can I do? You can actually take action and do. You could do so you can be. That's what you could do. You could do so you could be. Because you not being is hurting so many people. We are hurting so many others by not sharing space and having an understanding. So we invite you, seriously, to come be with us. What is the next? What's the next?
I am putting in the application and the website in the chat, and then let's go to the next one.
But we can't be if we're not taking care of ourselves. We need to live well in order to lead well. Nobody's going to, you want to have a debate with me on this, I will, and I'll listen to your point of view. And I will also hold space for, if you don't live well, you are never going to lead at the optimization levels that your human potential can. And that's why I speak about wellness all the time. That's why we keep asking you, what are you doing to take care of yourself? Because there's invisible tolls that automatically as women we have to pay all the time. I'm driving on the highway that's asking me for my toll all the time. And what are you doing to take care of yourself? Because you matter. And if you're not taking care of yourself, we've seen the impact on people. So do you want to tell us more, Karen?
Yes. And this is exactly why we are co-creating this retreat in Miami, December 14th through 16th. And it's going to be a restorative experience where we will welcome you, where you will be seen, heard, respected, where we'll have time for affinity space, for unity space, for healing, for meaningful conversations and true relationship building, and for creating a plan of what we are going to do to bring interracial sisterhood and solidarity to our workplaces, to our communities. And you'll have time for personal reflection and just to exhale in a beautiful, beautiful setting with like-minded, self-identified women. And then we will celebrate and experience joy together of creating this shared vision, a shared imagination of what is possible, and then going and sustaining it afterwards to actually bring that vision to life.
So I guess what I would ask is, thank you for sharing this last hour. If you popped in at the end, whatever minutes that you chose to give us, I am in so much appreciation of you. I guess my question would be for the audience, what questions do you have of Karen and I? I don't know if there's something that we can answer that people are curious about. You could always DM us too, but if people put it in the chat, then we could respond to it, because I always tell people when I was a teacher, there's probably other people sitting thinking of the same question that you have. So if you could just share the question, so many people could benefit from it. So first question, thank you, Corey. Is the retreat the single event coming up, or is there also another way to get involved? So I guess if we want to talk about the present moment, in the present moment, we are going to continue to do lives every Friday. That's first. The event that we are doing in person is in December, and that is a single retreat, which is 3 days long. If you're looking at other things that you could get involved on, there is a website where you could sign up to receive. We actually do have a newsletter that Karen does that goes out on a regular basis 2 times a week. And there's also other events coming up for 2024, but we didn't want to unveil those until this event happened. And we want the people coming to this event to be the first people to know what's happening in 2024. But I can say to you, without saying too much, we have other events coming up in 2024. December 14th through 16th is our first in-person event that's taking place. If I didn't explain exactly what you were looking for, DM one of us or type in the chat, if we didn't answer something. Karen, what else do you have to add?
Yeah, I would say we definitely want to sustain this going into 2024, and we will be announcing that and sharing that out. And we would love for you to participate in the ongoing community. But yes, we want to announce it at the retreat so that it's going to be special for everyone who comes to that.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else thank you for that question. Anybody else have questions, curiosities about our sharing space? I'm really excited.
I realized I don't think the link went out to every channel. So I'm putting, this is the link to our website where you can sign up for our newsletter as well as get all the information. And there's links to the application. Also, that's important to share that this isn't one of those things where like you just register and come. Future and I want you to apply. We have several questions for you. We want to interview you because we have to make sure that everyone who's coming to the retreat is in the right place for us to be able to serve them well with this retreat. And this is the link to that application, which you can also access on the website.
Mm-hmm. And so
those are all the questions that I see. Does anyone else have a question that they would like to raise? If not, I would just like to thank everybody for coming on today. It was so beautiful to see you, Sharon, Clarissa, Amina, Joe. Thank you so much for all of your questions and insight that you shared. And thank you, as always, Future, for especially, I want to clip that sermon in the middle. We're going to have to listen to that over and over again. Oh, Carrie has a question.
Oh.
Is the retreat, I think that, thank you both for doing this. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in.
You're welcome. I think we forgot a few names. So if you were here, we just want to say thank you because you don't have to choose. You don't have to choose to be here. You made a conscious choice to share space with us on this Friday. We hope that you have a beautiful weekend. And don't forget to pour into your own wellness because you deserve it. We as women deserve it. And I'm not going to say that we don't. We deserve our wellness every single day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.